All right, welcome to Believe in Chargers with the great Lorenzo Neal. Matt Money Smith here. Good to have you back, Lo. And I'll tell you, Lo been making the rounds, and the videos, they show up in my feed. And I will say I'm going to get this thing started with something I think that could be pretty fun, and it could make it interesting when you show up on the training camp field as I plant the question. But want to start by thanking our friends at FanDuel. Looking at the odds right now, the Chargers still in that same slot, even after the first wave of free agency. Favorites are the Rams to win the Super Bowl. Behind them, the Seahawks. And then you got three AFC teams. Bills plus 1,000, Ravens plus 1,100, Chargers plus 1,500 is where that sits. The division, they're tied with the Chiefs right now at plus 180. Broncos, even after the Jalen Waddle trade, at plus 200. So the folks over there, the people that are getting in this early, seem to think Chargers and Chiefs right there. And then for the conference, again, third at plus 700 behind the Bills and Ravens. Chiefs right behind them at plus 800. Broncos at plus 950. If you want to make a couple dollars and you got 20 grand to lay down to win 100, Fernando Mendoza as the number one overall pick. That is pretty much a lock from what the scuttlebutt is, who he's working with, what playbooks he's looking at, how he's trying to get ramped up and ready to roll as soon as that selection's made by the Raiders. So that's going to be a lock. And then after that, we can get into it, Low, the draft and some things that I kind of thought about that I'm starting to piece together in my brain as I'm looking at all these mock drafts that I'll run by you. But I want to start with this. I saw you on Edelman's podcast. He was asking who you wanted to take on, if you could take on anyone. And then I was watching some Keaton Mitchell film, and I was watching some Alec Ingold film, and I saw Alec in a little motion with A-Chain behind him for the Dolphins with Mike McDaniel there, and man, he stood up Joey Bosa, just straight stood him up, and A-Chain came flying through there. And so I was thinking, man, if Lowe could just suit up and get out on the field at training camp, what Charger do you want to hit? What Charger would you want to take on? I think I know the answer, but because you're a guy that wants to.
You know what? Without a doubt, and he would get me now. But in my heyday, me and him I tell him to sit down. It's going to take a while. I'm telling him I'm not going nowhere. He wouldn't go anywhere. And it would be a doozy. That's Khalil Mack.
No doubt.
I want Mack. That's what you're thinking?
Oh, of course.
Were you thinking that one?
Of course.
I want the Mack attack, baby.
Yeah.
Every time I see him, I walk by him and I size him up. He's 6'3".
He's
got he's a big man. And I just look at her. Every time I walk by a guy, bro, that I look at, that I kind of say, okay, got some respect for, I'm always thinking, could I get him? Could I? What would I do? What would be my method?
Right. And I'll tell you, man, when you watch Ingold, I'll tell you what his method is. He's cutting dudes, man. He's cutting dudes all over the place. That's what he does. He's just going to cut your knees, come right at you. I think for you, a little bit different. You tended to take dudes on a little more square, unless I'm wrong. I mean, would you cut Khalil?
No,
you're taking him on, right?
I'm hitting guys in the mouth. I know Khalil has quick hands. He's quick with this punch. So it's the punch. I'm still running full speed, and I'm able to slap the hands and be able to get into him with my head. My head was my moneymaker. You see that big dome? That's what I did. It's slap and go. It's slap and go. So I'm running full speed and a boom, boom. So I'm knocking the hands down so they can't punch, because if they get their hands out, they're able to jam me and stop me. So that's why I was like, if I can get your hands down, get into your body, 9 out of 10, I'm winning that. But and I was good too with cutting, because if you start hitting guys, they're thinking, okay, he's going to hit me high. Then all of a sudden you cut that outside thigh bore and you get guys on the ground. Ingold does a great job of cutting, putting his head in the right place, and getting guys on the ground.
Yeah. So what you play at? What was your playing weight, Low?
245 to 250. Okay. I played right around,
Yeah, so Ingold's probably, 25 pounds lighter than that. He's a little bit of a smaller guy, which is maybe why we see him cutting a little bit more as opposed to taking guys on. You said something, though, and old Charger really liked when he was on the team. Fun guy to be around. Braden Fajoko has really kind of made some waves on Twitter. He takes on a lot of dudes, and he's got a lot of wild opinions. It's great. I love it. It's what makes that platform as fun as it is. But he was going through the Reuben Bain tape, the standout DN from Miami, who's just awesome, but has the short arms, and that's the concern, right? His arms are like 32 inches. They might be sub 32. They might be like 31 and something. And people are all freaked out. And he brought up that when he was hitting the sled, and man, he hit that sled, and that damn sled felt like it was going to explode. He hit it with such power. But he was pointing out that Bain was hitting with his head first, that like his head got there before his arms, and that was an issue, and that was something that was going to have to be
Right.
corrected. And I figured because it got a lot of traction, as someone that just pointed out, you'd slap, pop him with your head, and then get into him. Kind of take us through that technique.
I think when you're in the trenches, you can lead with your head because you will do so much damage to the game if guys start pointing out and say, "Oh, Bain, he's using his helmet as a weapon." You have to use your helmet as a weapon. That's made for spearing guys that have the ball or guys that are taking the ball and spearing with their helmet when they got the ball. But you're talking about in the trenches, being able to knock guys' hands down and use your head. And that's what Bain does well. He's got some bend, he's got the quickness, and he's got that pop. He explodes with his hips, and he's able to bring his hips and his head and his body, upper body with him. And that's how he has the advantage on a lot of these guys. Yes, he has short arms, but guess what? What happened every time this guy played against guys with long arms? What did he do to those guys? What is he doing to them? So, that's horse crap. Give me that guy, let him
Right.
line up. He'll find a way to win.
Yeah, I'm with you. Please, everybody, knock him. Let him slide all the way to 22. I'd be fine with that. So, Lo, this is kind of what I'm sure you're getting hit with the same thing, right? They're frustrated with free agency. The Chargers had 100 million bucks to spend. They get out of it with Ingold, with Kolar. They re-sign Khalil Mack. That's a big one. They bring in Dalvin Tomlinson.
Tony
Uh, in,
Jefferson. They
in,
signed a lot of local guys,
yeah,
right?
Tony Jefferson.
Yeah,
They get Cole Strange to play right guard. The money they gave Trevor Penning suggests, competition maybe left guard. And Pipkins comes back. But yeah, that's basically what they did. They brought back a lot of their guys, Denzel Perriman, Dean
Trey Lance.
Leonard, Josh Harris, kept those. Delshon Phillips, who I know was priority number one for Ryan Ficken. He was adamant that he wanted Delshon back. And I think what you saw from him when he had to step in at linebacker showed that he can definitely give you some linebacker reps as well. That's a dude that plays physical football and can bring the thump. But sort of what I've been dealing with is, how do you have 100 million bucks and you still got 48 million bucks left now and you're not signing these guys? And so what I would say is you're going to keep quacking. You're going to keep
Yep.
arcing because it's not going to happen now. The first wave has passed, and now all you're going to do is affect your comp pick situation
Right.
if you sign one of these unrestricted free agents. So if you're waiting for Joel Bitonio or Kevin Zeitler or Greg Van Roten or any of these guys to sign, it's not
Right.
going to happen.
No,
So
it's
that's
I agree with you, Money. Now, Davon Thomason, D line from Arizona, decent, right? What
I
they
like them.
filled some holes. I like what they did. They said, I'm not going to overexpend in free agency. I'm not going out here and just open up my checkbook and just to say, oh, we got no money. Oh, we're over because this team will do some things. The Chargers are known to make some moves right before the deadline, a trade deadline, some big splashes. So you want to make sure you have a little something in that kittle for when that happens. So I don't think they did a bad job. You signed Trey Lance again. You signed some backup quarterback. You signed a lot of backup line. So you wanted to make sure you signed depth. You went out and you said, okay, let's keep our special teams guys
Yeah.
that we have. Of course, you let Disley go, but you brought in Mitchell, running back, another guy who can make big plays, average over 6 yards a tote when he got the ball. He's very explosive in the passing game. You made sure you kept some special teams guys on this team, core special teams guys, and brought some in. So I think the fans just got to do one thing. Aaron Rodgers said back in the day, relax
Relax.
and just take it for what it is. You're in the thick of things. You just don't want to panic. You just don't want to go all in. Someone gets hurt. Now the Chargers, what can they do? So I know they would like to see more big splash. You took care of the center position, which was a huge
Huge.
splash. You addressed the fullback position. And the tight end, people aren't talking enough about the tight end you
Charlie
got.
Kolar.
This guy can
He's
play.
great.
You got now when you go 12 tight ends, you got 2 tight ends that can absolutely fly. I don't know if you can put linebackers on either one of those guys.
Yeah.
So I think the Chargers did some things, just those sneaky little things that's going to cause a matchup problem. I think fans have to just say, okay, we got to trust the process.
Yeah, and look, their splash sign. Basically, they had three, if you want to count bringing somebody back, three splash signings, right? Khalil Mack for 18 million bucks, who is still just a complete freak of nature. The level of play you're getting from him at age 34. at the center, you mentioned Tyler Biadasz at
Yep.
$10 million a year, a guy that some people think is a top 5 center, others top 10, other top half, whatever it is. We talked about it ad nauseum that this is a guy who, when you remove Bradley Bozeman and put in Biadasz, it's going to elevate your offensive line
Sure.
considerably. And then Charlie Kolar, the tight end, a full service tight end who can block his tail off, is a lot more athletic than Will Dissly, who could
Yep.
block but just didn't give him enough in the passing game, which is why they cut ties. And so what they showed us is what they prioritize, right? Even though you wouldn't know it with the Bradley Bozeman return last year, I think they just weren't crazy about the center class in free agency, and you could see that Ryan Kelly's already been cut by the Vikings after signing that big money contract last year. So I think they
Right.
weren't crazy about the center class last year. That's why they didn't address it, and they weren't crazy about the center class in the draft last year, which is why they didn't address it. So they signed Biadasz, number one priority. Don't let him leave the building. They signed Charlie Kolar. They want that full service tight end. That's a
Yep.
priority there. And then they signed the number one fullback on the market, Alec Ingold, right? So to me, that shows us what their priorities are, right? Last year, what did Joe Ortiz do? Or 2 years ago, I should say. 2 years ago, he makes Joe Alt the number 5 overall pick. Tackle,
Yep.
priority. The very next year, what does he do? Makes Rashawn Slater the highest paid annual salary tackle in the league. Priority, center, priority, blocking tight end, priority, guard, for whatever reason, and that's what we were all watching, right? Are they going to go
Right.
get Elton Jenkins? Are they going to go get Siamalo? Are they go? And they don't. And they get Cole Strange on a low money deal, still starter money, played
Yeah.
for McDaniel last year. What I'm getting at is Batonio's not going to be signing until after the draft, if he signs at all, because they're not going to affect their comp pick formula. And neither is Van Roten, neither is Zeitler. Now, they could still get a street free agent, guys that were cut by their teams and weren't just unrestricted free agents. They could go out and sign a Graham Glasgow. They could sign a James Daniels, who's been beat up the last 2 years, but prior to that, it played some pretty good football. But I don't think those guys are going to sign. They're like, well, why am I taking a vet minimum deal or a low money deal when I can wait for teams to get a little bit more desperate? Maybe someone gets hurt in camp, and then they can sign for a little bit more money. That's my guess. So if you're looking for someone at guard, it's probably going to be Daniels or Glasgow would be my guess, is the only thing that's out there. Otherwise, you're waiting until after the draft. And kind of what I'm getting at here, though, is I see all these mock drafts, and I see Ioane, the guard out of Penn State, over and over and over again, right? One of the 10 best players in the draft when you're looking at people's vertical 150s or their big boards or how they rank the players, not the mock drafts. That guy's in there.
Sure.
But then I started saying to myself, what has this team shown us that suggests that they're going to, if they had $100 million to spend and they could have signed Elton Jenkins or Wyatt Teller or any of these guys, any of these guards, Siamalo in free agency, and didn't, that is less valuable, that money, that $10 to $12 million in free agency, than a first round pick. They already showed us they don't prioritize guard, that is not something they think they need. They've got bookend tackles, arguably the best in the league. They paid for center, and they went sort of on a low number for a starting guard in Cole Strange and brought back Trevor Penny. Like, I don't know why they would spend the 22nd pick on a guard if everything they've shown us in free agency suggests that it's not a priority for them. Like that high level guard play is not something that they were chasing when they had plenty of money to go do that.
Right. And what I think money people don't understand, when you're looking at the football position, you think about, okay, let's just talk about offensive line and defensive line. You play with either 3 down defensive line or you play with 4. You got 5 offensive linemen. So what that means is if you're playing with 3, that means you got 2 guys on 3. You got 2 guys double teaming 2 other guys, and you got 1 guy on 1-on-1. With 4 down offensive linemen, you still got one. Either the center is uncovered, he can help either side of whether the guard, and then you got 1-on-1s. Your offense is built. You got 2 tackles that don't need help. So now, where's the center going to go? So they're looking at this thing and saying, okay, we got those 2. We got a pretty decent guard. So, okay, if there's going to be a mismatch on this, our center, you went out and got a good center. You're protecting the middle, want to be strong in the middle. You got a smart center. So now he can fade to either side wherever they need help. So one guy's uncovered. So I think that you said, okay, I understand. We went and got stronger in the middle, so we're not going to necessarily get that push. We got two outside great tackles that can handle one-on-one. Somebody in the middle, we're going against a four down lineman. That may give us a little bit of problems because, okay, which side we're going to slide? So is there going to be on one guy unblocked? But usually that unblocked guy, if it's the center's getting getting beat up on, the unblocked guard is going to help. So I think that's why they said we don't need to necessarily concentrate on the guard position. We got a great center that's going to be able to fill either way. We got two great tackles, so people don't understand the importance of having a great center and two great tackles.
Yeah, and it's just that's their philosophy.
Yeah,
Like that's sort of what I keep
that's the
getting
why.
at is everyone's like, oh, if Ioane makes it to us, that's going to be, and maybe I'm wrong, but to me, it's like how much this team values draft picks because of this whole comp pick thing. That they want that third, or right now it's projected borderline third, fourth for Oweh, and that's why they're not going to sign anybody else because as soon as they do, if it's an unrestricted free agent and not a street free agent, they're going to get dinged, and they're not going to do it. They want that extra pick. It's something Joe Ortiz said when in his introductory press conference that he believes in comp picks, and Baltimore is where he came from. Nobody has gotten comp picks in the last 20 years like the Ravens. So to me, they had the opportunity to do it, to sign guys that did not count against the comp pick formula, that are good players like Elton Jenkins, and they chose not to. They chose not to do it. So why, when I'm looking, when I'm looking at um, I'm trying to pull up the draft stuff now. Sorry, I'm going to the big board here.
No, go ahead.
Um, when I'm looking at the way this draft could lay out, I want to go to my mock draft simulator.
Sure.
Um, what and let's just go back to the year before, right? Let's go to their first year. Obviously, Zion is still there on his rookie contract for a first round pick. They're just like, kick Trey inside. Here's a tackler. There's a guy that's never played guard.
Right.
Kick him inside. We'll be fine. Like that's the way they addressed it in year one. Year two, nah, we're not going to sign Will Fries. We're not going to sign any of these other guards, even though Trey didn't work out. Oh, here's a
Right.
nice little bargain, Mekhi Becton. We'll do that. And
Right.
and so everything they've shown us suggests that that's like Ioane is not necessarily. And let me just kind of get this going right now and figure out
And
uh,
why are you
what would
looking at
be
that,
there.
Lenny? Why are you looking at that? I think a lot of people have to realize too, when you can get a guy in the third and it's that draft is, because you didn't do that. You have a guy also that's not going to play the whole game, but he's going to play 15 to 20 plays on special teams. Maybe he plays a little bit on defense or offense, whatever type of player. So they value these young guys because you have to continue to build in special teams. But a guy that can come in, you think about Thule and some of these guys that played special teams, how many play, and now they're starters. So
Yeah.
teams build in the draft because you want those young, fresh legs be able to go down, run down kicks, be able to run on punt team, punt return team. So I think that you say if you go get a lot of these veteran guys, let's be real. If they're not core special teamser, those guys usually are niche guys that are going to come and play guard or tackle. They're not going to be on your special team. So this team understands that's why the philosophy is say, let's keep these draft picks because we know we still have to continue to build on special teams and offense and defense long term.
Yeah. And so, like, for me, when I'm looking at it, and a lot of these mock drafts, Ioane's not even making it to them. So it may be moot, but it feels like more and more. And I think a big part of this is look at what Jackson Smith and Jigba just did. They're $42 million a year. So when a contract like that is signed, and look, he's incredible, right? I mean, the guy led the league in receiving. He very well could have been the offensive player of the year. Like he's a really good player, but I'm sure teams are like, dude, $42 million. Like, and and again, it's Justin Jefferson and it's Jamar Chase. And I think when you look at the way those guys play, it's I'm not trying to knock the guy at all, but I think you're talking about a guy who's incredibly productive, incredibly good, but it's just trying to think of the best way to put this so it doesn't sound like a slight. That's not what I'm intending it to be. That's a lot of money, man. $42 million for that guy is a lot of money. And so I look at the Chargers at 22, and I think it's more and more likely that Ioane could slide there, and that Denzel Boston and Jordan Tyson and Omar Cooper and Casey Concepcion, and these wide receivers might be going off the board a little bit earlier than you think because of the money and how you want that fifth year of control. If your evaluation on these receivers is as a first round or a borderline first round player, Tyson's a first round player. He's just got serious injury issues. This guy's been dealing with a hammy since last September, where he's not able to work at the combine, not able to work out at his pro day. So, that's a major concern, and it's not the first injury he's dealt with. But when healthy, he's a really good player. So I think you might see Omar Cooper coming up nails in the playoffs for Indiana, kind of a go-to guy for Fernando Mendoza when the chips were down. Tough as nails, great contested catch, physical receiver. I think these guys could bounce up the board. And then the Chargers are sitting there, and Ioani's sitting there, and everyone's going to be like, worked out perfect. You're a genius, Joe Ortiz. Way to go. And all of a sudden, the card is turned in, and I'm just looking, it's TJ Parker, the edge. It's Cassius Howell, the edge. It's Keldrick Falk, the edge. It's Peter Woods, the interior defensive lineman. Maybe Denzel Boston's still sitting there. It's the wide receiver. Maybe they get lucky and Kenyan Siddiq slides, and it's like, that's a luxury pick at tight end. No, that's what they value. This team is telling you that this, and then you look at the second and third round, and that might be where they end up getting their guard.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. When the way that they just built, and the way that they go about in the front office, it's the people are like, oh my God, why aren't they making this huge splash? They understand the importance of draft picks. Draft picks, you can, like you said, if these guys are there and guys will slide, because you never know. It's about draft pick. You might have a guy in the first round, and someone might not view him as a first rounder. That guy, then you get to that pick and you're like, man, no one's even sniffed him. You might trade back and he's still there in the second round. So the Chargers Ortiz, he does a great job. Is there some noteworthy free agents that you would love to have on this team? And I think fans need to know that you're not saying, oh my God, I'd love to go get some of these guys. I'd love to go say, okay, hey, let's go talk to the Raiders right now and put Khalil Mack on one side and we'll go get that pass rusher that the Ravens couldn't do. Sign me up. I'll take, but it doesn't happen that way. This is not how the NFL draft works. It's not how free agency works. You have to make sure you take care of your cap. You have to make sure that you have enough money in the kitty for when free agency, after the season starts, how many injuries does happen during the season. You have to be prepared. So I think this team just does it methodically. It's not ideal for the fans, but there's a method to the madness.
Yeah. And look, teams are going to value, and again, this is not my opinion. I'm not saying, would I have liked them to sign one of those cards? Yeah. You protect yourself. You give yourself some depth. You don't, after going through what you went through, and Mekhi Becton only playing 50% of the snaps and having to work in 4 or 5 different guards and being on your 5th and 6th tackle, and it's Deculus and it's Bobby Hart signed off the street. Yeah, I'd like them to go take a flyer on James Daniels, to go, bring in Graham Glasgow, not to start, but to give you a little bit of depth. So if you do have to play him 2 games, you're like, all right, we're good. Here's $3.5, $4 million for you guys, and it's not going to affect our number all that much. And at least you feel a little bit, unless the evaluation of them is they're old or they're injured, and I just don't think they can do it anymore, then that's fine. I would like a little bit more depth. It would, especially after what we experienced the last couple of years with injuries, it'd make you sleep a little bit easier. But to me, that's just, it's not necessarily, look at corner. You think about teams that prioritize corner. Look at the Colts. They traded 2 number ones for Sauce Gardner, right? And granted, it was a different time for them. They had the best record in football, and they're like, we need to fix our secondary. Look at the Rams. Traded, ones for Trent McDuffie. They value corner. I look at the Chargers, 5th round picks, right? Here's Tareem Still and Cam Hart. And we're going to sign Dante Jackson to a 2-year, 12 or whatever, $15 million deal. It's just the way they roll, Now they traded a pick for Owe. They signed Khalil Mack to an $18 million a year deal. I think right here in short order, we're going to get that extension for Thule because the number's just going to keep going up. And I would assume it's going to be a little bit more than what Owe got. And then I think you're going to see a deal for Derwin. They value flexibility in the secondary, right? They want guys who can play multiple positions, inside, outside. That's to me, and that's why I think McNeil Warren, the safety, is someone that you should look at it and think about at 22 if he's there, because he's a guy that can play center field, track balls, and create turnovers, and he's a guy that can get up in the box and thump somebody as well. He's got that Derwin James level athleticism and a little bit and some size where that's what this team. Elijah Molden, trade for him, former corner, turn him into a safety. Like, that's what this team has shown us of what they value. They value edge, they value tackle, they value flexibility in the secondary. And so when I'm looking at the draft board at 22, I'm like, man, the more I look at it, the more I'm like, I can see one of these D linemen, one of the safeties if they're there, wide receiver, tight end. Like, that's what they've shown us.
Yeah, no, I totally understand what you're saying, how this team values sometimes the skill positions, the safeties, corners, but they're not going to overpay. We understand that. I think it's good. I think when you look at this Charger team is built by pass rush. They don't go. That's why they said we're not going to go get the best corners in the world, but our corners are going to be adequate. Our corners are going to make plays because we know 1001, 1002, 1003, someone's getting home. And it's predicated. You watch the way they play. They play off man. It make their man look like they make the man look like zone. Zone look like man. They know how to look like they're playing man to man, and all of a sudden they bell technique back is this, it's disguised. They're doing a lot of different schemes, the way they cover up things. Hopefully, you lost your D coordinator. Hopefully the same thing is going to happen. And that's why you value interior pass rush, interior D line. That's why this team
Yeah.
does that. But you never really see this team say, okay, we're putting them first. Now, if the guy's just an elite, they probably would go first round, but this team really doesn't. They get guys that says, hey, they're average corners, they're average secondaries, and they make them better because of the system that they run.
Yeah, and I think they showed you that already in their signings. Who did they go out and get initially? It shows you what either Coach Harbaugh wants or what Mike McDaniel wants on the offensive side. I think all of that comes into play. Sorry, I'm looking off screen. I just wanted to make sure I had it right, because I'm not comparing him to him, Low, but I wanted to shift to this because you're with us and the people want to hear from you. So Keaton Mitchell it's fun, man, to go back and watch his tape. I keep saying what you say all the time on here. If he's even, he's leaving, man. And there's a couple of those plays in there, and there's a couple plays between the tackles. I mean, this guy has game-changing speed. If you're not setting the edge, it's over. Like, there's one
Yeah.
play that I pulled up against the Browns, and they did not set the edge, and it was like, OS. Here he goes. You played in front of Sproles, smaller back,
Yep.
lightning quick. Give us an idea of what it's like when you have someone like that back there. And even I think Michael Turner was pretty damn fast too. Like,
Turner to Burner, when he get out, Turner Burner, big
right,
booty Burner can run, boy.
right,
He's leaning forward, looking like Fat Albert running down. I
right.
love Turner. He's awesome. But I think when you have a Darren Sproles, I think what people fail to realize, they can't see him. When you're
Right.
in the backfield and you've got offensive linemen and defensive linemen in front, you think about you're slow to the hole and you're fast through. In time you get to the hole, you're looking for the back, and all of a sudden, once you're looking, he's already past you. When you watch these little backs, that's what they do great. It's that great acceleration to the hole, and that's what you got. The Ravens lost a great back, a great game-changing back. He's not an every down back, but this guy, you give him 15, 10 plays, couple passes, get him out in space and let him utilize his speed and his cutting ability open field. It's hell. It is tough on a defense. So I think that is the biggest thing. Sproles had so much success because little water, but he stayed low. You couldn't see him. Guys are in the trenches. That's what, and of course, he's got to be a good athlete, and he
Yeah.
had great cutting ability, great hands. But that is one of the main factors when you have little backs that are fast, that are quick, that are explosive to the hole. I'm telling you, money. A lot of times, you ask a lot of D linemen, they don't even see them.
Yeah. Keaton's 5'9".
Yeah,
Sproles about 5'6", I think, right?
yeah, 5'6", 5'7". Yeah,
So
yeah.
who's the fastest back you ever played with? Like, just raw speed.
You know what? A guy that I would say, but didn't play a lot. But Freddie McAfee.
Yeah.
Remember Fred
Oh
McAfee
yeah.
from the Saints back in the day?
Absolutely.
He could fly. I think if you put everyone in a line, McFadden was pretty fast for the Raiders.
Oh yeah.
He had great speed, open field speed. Sproles was so quick.
Right.
Like if you said just quickness back, you probably have to say Sproles. But if you said top end, I'm gonna tell you, I don't know what's Ladanian, or I'm gonna tell you a guy don't sleep on that had some speed top end, and you're gonna like this name, Corey Dillon.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Corey Dillon,
UW.
money. That dude could. Corey Dillon for 220, 230 pounds. You never pull up film and watch see if he ever got ran down.
Yeah.
Corey Dillon could absolutely, for a big man, he could put him up, pick him up, put him down.
Yeah, we haven't talked a lot about Keaton and just what an interesting signing it is. And
It
again,
is.
and look, the guy had a great rookie year, blew out his knee, and then last year you saw those flashes come back, that speed come back. Like I said, he hits the edge and he's gone. So that's going to be a fun one. That I like the running back room with Kimani, with
You do.
Amari, and
Yeah.
look, Amarian's fast as heck too. Now, do not sleep on that. That dude can run.
Exactly.
So it's and we know what Kimani was able to do when he had to step in. So it's a really good room. I think they're good there. Fullback, tight end. So here's what I'm getting at as we kind of wrap this thing up. If I'm looking at the first round of the draft, I they do have needs. They have needed guard. They have needed interior D line. They have I think a serious needed edge just because they didn't bring back Owe and Khalil is on a year-to-year deal. They could end up and they need three. You've got to have three edges for this thing to work. We saw that's why they traded for Owe in the first place and how much better that defense was as soon as he got here and got settled in. So if I had to rank, I think edge is going to be priority one. And I would not be surprised if a secondary player, if one of the corners slides, if Jermon McCoy slides to them, if Delane's not going to slide to them. But if for whatever reason McCoy slides to him, I could see that. McNeil Warren, I think that's a possibility. I think the tight end Siddiq is certainly in play, and I don't think you would call that a luxury pick at all with Mike McDaniel as your offensive coordinator and what they would be able to do with those three tight ends. Siddiq is an absolute freak. It's not because it rhymes. He just is. Is he Brock Bowers? No. But I do think you could put him in that sort of Colston Loveland, Tyler Warren range, maybe just a little bit behind them from last year. And we were talking about how elated we would have been if they had slid to the Chargers at 22, and they didn't. One went at 11, the other one went at 14. So I think if Siddiq slides there, I think that's a very real possibility. And then I also think, again, if you want to talk about guard, to me, it's like, here we go. I'm looking at the mock draft simulator. We got 4 teams that want to trade up. Patriots got 31. So if they're taking our 22, can we take 31 and 63 off or trade? Of course you can. So now you can get down to 31, and that's where it might make sense to get, because you picked up that extra third rounder. So now you got 2 twos. You got two, and you've got a late 1, a 2, and 2 threes to play around with. And now you're like, okay, now that we've got that extra stuff, that's where you can start to think about, now we're going to get value for guard. Now we can, that's the kind of thing that I could see happening if that's the way they want to do it. If they're able to back up and pick up extra picks, because let's see, what did the Patriots do with that trade? I'm assuming it's a wide receiver. And yeah, they traded up to get Jordan Tyson. And so that's something I could see happening, where whether it's the Browns at 24, could be the Patriots at 31, could be at the top of the second round. It could be the Titans, Cardinals, Jets at 33, 34, 35 that you could see trying to jump into that spot to take one of those wide receivers. And then you can start to line it up and maybe pick up your guard or something that you think is a no-brainer at that spot. But yeah, I just see all these mock drafts coming out with Ioane there. And would I love it? Yes. I'd run it in. Spencer Fano, Ioane, let's go. That's me. I just don't think it's them. I don't think they've signaled anything. They had Zion Johnson, a first-round pick. What did Coach Harbaugh call him? Block of granite. Everybody's favorite guy. Works hard, high character, intelligent, strong, available every single – like they told us that this was their guy, that he does everything right. And when it got to a number, they were like,
Bye-bye.
Not for me. And it's like, well, you got $100 million to spend. It's not that big of a deal. If he's all of these things you're telling us he is, it just leads me to believe that, you're working the market a little bit And yeah, I know what the film says, but man, this guy is going to add to your locker. And I think it's like a comp pick thing. It's like, yeah, sign him to that $17 million deal, and let's see a year deal, and let's see if we can get a comp pick out of this. So, like, to me, that's sort of what it signaled to me. The fact that they're happy right now. I assume they're content with where they sit with Trevor Penning at left guard and Cole Strange at right guard, because they spent on center, they spent on blocking tight end, they spent on fullback, and they feel like their protection's fine.
Yeah,
So if you're playing around, I've rambled a lot today. If
it's
you're
great.
playing around with the mock draft simulator, what I'm getting at is don't think that guard, if it's sitting there, is what it's going to be.
It's a pass. I'm with money. It's a pass rusher.
I think so.
It almost money in while you were just talking through it, it has to be. I even think more so as I listen to you because you think about it. Khalil Mack is a hell of a player. Still one of the best elite pass rushers, but he's 34.
Yeah,
So how are you going to put this guy out there for 60, 70 plays a game? You can't.
yeah,
If you want Khalil Mack to be effective, because he is still very effective, and he can still change the game and have an impact on the game, you got to get this guy. He needs to only play 30 plays a game.
right.
So so you have to get
The
somebody
third
that's going
guy.
to impact. So it's going to be. I don't care if it's a guard there, but if they get the right pat, it's going to be a pass rusher. You have to, because you're going to have to spare Khalil Mack until you cannot expect those guys to be out on the field that many snaps.
Yeah,
Someone's going to, that.
and I think you look at it, and there's going to be. I think there's going to be. I think one of them will be there. I think whether that is Mesidor because of his age, I don't care. His team's ready to win a Super Bowl now. Give me the 25-year-old that wrecked shop with Reuben Bain in Miami and rode it all the way to the national championship game. Whether it's Mesidor, Falk is an interesting one because he's so young and so raw. I know there's people that love him, and there's people that are like, I don't know, man, not for me. But like, that's just tools. Hey, give them to this defensive staff, and let's watch what because tools wise, guy's a complete freak, man. What is he, 6'6", 285. He's got like an 84-inch wingspan. He's only 20 years old. So that's a possibility. Everybody loves TJ Parker. He'd be a perfect fit for this team. Same sort of deal, right? He's only 21. Like, I think there's enough there, whether it's Howell, Parker, Falk, or Mesidor, if they're sitting there. And I think you could look interior as well. If they're not freaked out by the injury to Banks or just kind of the peaks and valleys. We heard about how into him they were at the Senior Bowl. Peter Woods is a pass rushing interior guy. Caden McDonald. So, like, I just keep looking at it, and I'm like, I think it's either an edge or a disruptive pass rushing interior lineman, or it's a trade down. I think that's, unless they're smitten. Like, again, Siddiq, I think, makes sense there. I think there's value at 22 if Siddiq slides, and you just take the freakish tight end, and then you really put pressure on defenses. So I, I know people, they want us to tell them that there's a
But
guard coming. That's what they want.
no,
I was
I
at
know.
the facility last week, and I was talking to someone, and they're like, "How's it going, man?" And I said, I said, "Look, here's how it's." He's like, how are the fans?" I said, "The fans are freaking out." He said, "Why?" And I said, "Because you didn't sign two guards." I was like, if you would, all you had to do was sign a guard, no matter who it was, just
Right,
a guard, and they would have been fine.
right,
And he's like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "They're not excited about Kolar and about Biadasz." Like, "Yeah, they are." But I've never been around a fan base, and I understand it because Justin Herbert got his head caved in last year, that
right,
is so fixated on this team not having enough offensive linemen, and they just feel like you don't, so they're freaked out.
right.
And he was just like, "Okay, all right, I get it."
He said,
And
"I'm gonna go sign a guard." He said,
yeah, I was like, "Just all you got to do is sign a guard, man. Just
"Any
go
guard."
sign one." Sign freaking James Daniels. They're not going to be elated like had you signed Elton Jenkins or signed Graham Glasgow. Just go get one of these street free agents, get them a low money deal, and they're going to be fine.
Let's call Bruce Matthews out of retirement.
There you go. Exactly. There you go. All right, Lo. That's going to do it for us this week. Maybe next week
Yeah,
they'll sign
I
a
got one
guard.
more before we go. One more before we go. What did you tell me your take? This is off Chargers. What do you think about Atlanta? What was that move about signing the quarterback?
Tua?
Yeah,
I think just, Penix can't stay healthy. Wasn't able to stay. It's new regime. And they didn't draft Penix, and the guy has had injuries every single season of his career, and so it's one of those where what Kevin Stefanski likes to do. He's going to run the heck out of the ball. They got Bijan. Um, they've got a good receiving core. They've got a good offensive line. Can we just get a guy that can stay on schedule? And I think when you're Tua, look, I like Tua, man. I think Tua's a good quarterback. He throws an accurate ball. He's on time. He sees it. And I think just the main concern with Tua is obviously the concussions and sort of the inability to get out and run around a lot because of the concussions. But I would have taken. I think there probably were multiple teams that were like, yeah, I'll take a flyer on that guy.
mm,
For a minimum deal. So to me, it makes sense. Same thing with Kyler Murray in Minnesota. It's like, you know what? We've seen enough, right? Like Tua led the league in passing. I remember Don Mattingly, not to drop a name, but Don Mattingly said this once when he was the manager of the Dodgers, and I worked for the Dodger station. And I can't remember who we were talking about, but we were talking about a player that had kind of had a bad year. And he said, look, that guy, it was a pitcher. He's like, that guy was a top 5 Cy Young vote getter. It's in there. He's like, so now it's on me to figure out how to get it out again.
right.
As long as there's no physical limitations because of injury, it's up to me to figure out how to get it out. Like Tua passed for 5,000 yards in a season, man. Like
Well,
I'm sure Stefanski's like, if I can get him a Bijan Robinson running game, if I can get him blocking, for my offensive line, and I've got these receivers. I've got Drake London, I've got Kyle Pitts, I've got some opportunities for him. Then yeah, he's just got to stay on schedule, and I'll keep him on schedule.
wow, wow. Okay, okay. It made sense.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think look, it's a flyer, right? I don't
Right.
think there's any question about that. It's not like it's, hey, this is our quarterback for the next 5 years. I think it's just why not, man? Let's Penix is hurt. Let's see what Tua can give us. Yeah, I mean, you got Drake London, got Kyle Pitts coming back. So
Do they
Austin
draft the
Hooper's
quarter?
a
Do you
solid
think
tight
they
end.
draft the quarterback? Is Atlanta, or you think they
I
stay
don't think
fit?
so. No,
Say,
this
okay,
is
let's let these three fight it out.
yeah. I don't. Well, remember they traded their one. They traded their one to the Rams, so they would have had the 13th pick. But I don't think Ty Simpson's that guy. I don't know what the hell Dan Orlovsky's doing. If he's just trying to get people to watch him or something. But yeah, I don't. If you ask me if I'm spending a first round pick and I know that Brock Purdy's been great, but he's such an anomaly, like if the spectrum is Justin Herbert and Josh Allen here and Brock Purdy and Bryce Young and all that there, I don't want to be here. I want to be over here. I want to be over by the Herbert, Josh Allen, kind of size of, and I don't and it's not that Fernando Mendoza is that big, but he's 6'4", 230. He's not 6'6", 245 like Allen and Herbert, but he's 6'4",
6'4".
225.
Yeah, he can
You know,
see. He can move.
Ty Simpson's 6'1", 215,
Uh,
220. He's 24 years old. He's got short arms. He's got little hands.
mm.
He got his head caved in the game against Indiana. Got rolled in the SEC championship. Like I don't know. I don't know. Look, Dan Orlovsky obviously knows a heck of a lot more about football than I do. That's for certain. So he sees something that I just can't quite reconcile. I don't know what he's talking about there, and I don't even know how I got on this topic.
Because I took you off. I steered you, but
Yeah,
man, well, both up,
yeah.
both up,
Exactly.
everyone. Here we
Both up.
go.
We'll be back again next week. Again, thank you to our friends at FanDuel, and thank you to all of you. Leave some comments. I'll make sure I dig into them this week.
Who's our surprise guest? Money, you gonna tease them about next week or no?
Oh, next week, yes. I believe Monday. We're going to be look for a special Believe in Chargers on Monday. Uh, if you're interested in arguably the greatest Charger in the history of the franchise, I'm just going to show up. I'm
Yep.
gonna welcome everyone, and then I'm gonna sit back and listen. and I'm
I'm
gonna
with you.
some two old teammates. Get after it, and I'm gonna certainly look forward to that. So be sure to check us out next week. Looks like it's going to be early next week. We're going to knock that thing out. So yeah, thanks, Lo. I forgot about that. It's going to be a fun one.
No worries.
Until then, appreciate y'all for checking in, and we'll be back again early next week here on Believe in Chargers.
Bolt up. Let's go.